Call the meeting order. Please rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. You got your phones, please put them on silent. Mike, it is your turn for the however you want to do the prayer.
Okay, just a second. Okay, please join me in prayer. I'm going to read a prayer by St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be counseled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love.
Very nice, Mike. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Start with Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Smith, I'm here. Commissioner Dove.
Here.
I'm really this. Commissioner Reed.
It's Dove.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
You've been called worse, right? I'm sorry. I
Not
get
here.
here.
Not here he hasn't.
Well, okay. Moving right along. Is anybody in the public would like to address the government? Yeah, Joe, come on up. Name and address, and you have 5 minutes, young man.
Appreciate that. Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Herring, I'm Commissioner Reed's district. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to come up here and talk to you about a policy that's been up here twice, been tabled because of the agendas have been full of other items on the vacation of roads. And the policy's presented, and we haven't really had a chance to talk about it, and I've talked to staff a little. And as the policy's written, I think it's a great policy for when you're vacating a properly dedicated road. And I sent an email, I don't know if everybody got it. And I think that's a great case to proceed with that manner. It does state that the survey has to be recorded prior to the application. I think that's a little inverted. You need to let the survey be approved during the process after application instead of making the property owners go through that expense. And their application may not even be accepted. But that's a great one for, I think it was Green Road maybe, that was done this year. That was done. It needed that process. You needed to notify the neighbors. It's affecting multiple parcels. It's affecting multiple people. The exemptions that I think should be listed in that policy are the ones that were taken, in a manner, quid pro quo. If you want to do a track split, you have to give us right away. We talked about this before. I don't think they need to go through this policy. I think that if they were taken in that manner, it should just be returned back, much like the last two that were done, Smith track, and then it was also my actual right-of-way was given back to me because it was done in a manner that was not deemed conforming or unconstitutional, what the previous board called it. But I think those exemptions need to be in there so staff is not put on the spot. They have to make that decision during an application that is already written out. I gave this for a track split 15 years ago. I don't care if it was 20 years ago. Then they can apply to get it back. But they have to go through the application process to do that, but not the requirements as stated in that policy. And we really haven't had a much discussion on this to become policy, and that's all I'm asking for is that discussion so everybody can present their thoughts and hear from Public Works, hear from Planning and Zoning,
Okay.
everything. So,
Thank you, Joe.
all right, appreciate
your comments.
Yes.
Mark, are we scheduled to go over that anytime soon, or is that on the? It's on
Today's
Tuesday.
That's the one I've been bumping for 2
Oh,
years.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff. Okay.
I do have a question on that for council. Did you consult with all the different departments when you were drafting this?
Absolutely, Commissioner. We looked at neighboring counties to see what they looked like. We drafted something based on that and then circulated it with staff to, have the surveyor look at it, Public Works and Planning to get their feedback, made some additions, and then trimmed it down some to make it not quite as robust as some of the larger counties that had policies.
So in your opinion, this has been thoroughly vetted?
By staff.
Correct, thank you.
Yeah, I see now, I marked it up, Joe, on some of the things you were saying on this, right? Okay. All righty, well, we'll get to that when it comes time. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, thank you. We'll head to administrative business. We'll start with Mike. You have anything to approve?
Yes, I do have one thing. I've been thinking about this for a while. The federal government and all levels in the state have been engaged in the DOGE process and thoroughly reviewing their different departments and budgets. And I think I watched a video from the city of Wichita. They're also engaging in a government efficiency sort of audit of all their departments. And I think it would be appropriate for Leavenworth County to have a government efficiency commission or committee. And maybe we could have staff kind of come up with the parameters of this, and then each commissioner appoint a member to kind of review every department and really look in and see if there are efficiencies or if there's recommendations that that committee or commission could bring to us to bring efficiency to our various departments before our next budget cycle.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Okay. I've just got one thing. A reminder, Mark's evaluation, please get it to me by this coming Friday. If you need a little bit longer, which sometimes you do, then that's fine. But just let me know. I'd like to get that thing wrapped up. That's all I have. Commissioner Willie.
I don't have anything this morning.
Okay. Vanessa?
Do we need consensus on that, Commissioner Stephen, or anything? Or
That's what I was kind of looking for. The other commissioners agreed that that's a goal that we should put together that commission.
do we do that now or at a?
I'm not ready. That's new to me. I have to think about that
Okay.
because I know we got staff that does that. We got elected officials. I am not. I always like another set of eyes on it, but I think we just need to make sure we understand what we're getting into and what we're really trying to accomplish, and then we can sure to bring that up again, Mike.
Okay, can we put it on an agenda?
I would
We'll
like
talk
to,
about?
yeah, but I wanted a few weeks out because I need to think about that. Is everybody okay going a few weeks out on that? Because we're already through the budget. Jeff, you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa?
I'm fine.
Willie? Okay. Mark? Okay. All righty. Vanessa, you have anything else? Of course. Go ahead.
I would like to have an executive session in regards to the evaluation tool that we use for the county administrator.
Well,
Can that be included in our executive session? Does that fit within the parameters of our executive session today?
no.
Can it?
The motion that I drafted for an executive session today is to consult with, counsel about contract negotiations. I'm not sure if you're looking to consult with counsel or if you're wishing to discuss specifically identified personnel, because there's narrow parameters of what we can discuss in exec.
Well, we might be able to discuss it here, and I'm fine with just adding it to an agenda if that's okay in the future. I don't expect us to be able to reverse course this week, but I would just like to look at a different set of possibilities for next year.
Well, I have no problem with looking at not next year. I think it's something executive. I think we're so far down the road on this one that I'd like to get this complete because I put it off to budget. It was over with, so it's a little past due. So if we could go ahead and get this one, stay on the same road we're going, and then next year, if y'all would like to take another look or how we go about it and set it up. I mean, when I was a city administrator in Lansing for those 16 years, they changed my way they evaluated me probably every 4 or 5 years, and I was fine with it. So we probably need to have that discussion. But we got to remember too, employees have certain rights, and we want to make sure we protect those rights and confidentiality that they do. That we have to vote on everything in the public. But discussions, I do not want to call anybody out that works for us or is contracted with us. I'd rather do that in executive if that's possible.
And I had already spoken with the county administrator about it, but
Okay.
I'm not sure when the review was put in place or anything like that,
It
but
started when I came.
okay. So from my view, I felt uncomfortable answering some of the questions because it seems like you would have to know what the staff underneath. So those are my concerns.
And there's a
so.
valid point. So, you
Okay.
know, if you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to feel like parts that you don't.
Okay.
I always thought it was a good tool because you want to show people what they're doing right, and you want to show people that maybe there's some concerns that mean they're doing wrong, but let's hear their feedback on it and interact with them. So for this one, fill out what you can for the new people. But yeah, I started 5 years ago because I think the county administrator should be evaluated and let them know what we think.
I was just looking at maybe either getting like a staff survey in place to support it, so we had something to go off of for some of those questions, or something like that.
I'm open to anything that the
Awesome.
commissioners want to do. We got time we can jump on this and take
Thank
care
you.
of it. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Jeff.
I don't have anything today.
Mike. All right, you want it to you?
Well,
didn't
you can do me again. I'll
Well,
say
you
one
always
thing.
have something else.
I'll throw in one thing that I would like to express my appreciation to the county administrator for his hard work in the past few weeks, where we had him draft a revenue neutral budget and bring it back to us and look at it, and that was a lot of effort. That took a lot of time, and I appreciate him doing that. I express my appreciation publicly. Thank you.
And I go along that line too. Mark, I was a city manager for 16, 17 years in a couple different places, and I've known a lot of city administrators, city managers, and I think you're one of the top ones I've ever dealt with. We all got issues we can improve on, but as far as numbers and stuff like that, when we give you time to get them out to us, and that's on us, I've been very satisfied with that. But after saying that, there's always room to look at valuations and things like that to see if there's any way we could. Doesn't mean things being done wrong. It just means we used to review it, just like we did with the medical director and things like that.
Now I got to say something.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, on that subject, I really appreciate the work Mark put into the budget since we had. I mean, look, we got the roof of the courthouse is actually crumbling in front of us.
Around us, yeah.
We got a bridge that just popped a big hole in it we had to close. I mean, with all these things going on, we were still able to turn in a lowered mill levy.
Okay.
And I know you read the news and it says, oh, you raised everybody, the county commission raises everybody's taxes 5%. I don't know how they get by with printing stuff like that. That's not true. The fact is we lowered the mill levy. That means about a third of the county's taxes went down. About a third of the people in the county taxes went down this year. But you don't read that in the paper. I don't know why. That should be the headliner. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out.
I think you make a good point, Jeff. I think, and I think I see more people doing it that are attending meetings like that. There's a lot of homework that has to be done if you're going to see exactly what the city's doing, what the school and stuff like that. It's not just headlines or social media. And I can tell you, it's been interesting since I became a county commissioner, because this job is challenging, because it's not like when I was with the city. Now I've got the state to work with too, or try to, and we've got 400 and something employees with 144 bridges, and we're lowering the mill levy. Yet with the formula, that means the taxes will go up a little bit, but not that much. At the same time, if there's something out there that we could be doing better, all you got to do is talk to me, or when we have the discussions in the future, Mike, that you want to do, talk to us. But I've been very pleased with what I've seen for a person that's done public budgets for over 40 years. Anyway, we beat that to death, and I'm not going to.
Not quite to death.
I'm not going to let Mike have any more talk. Mark, you have.
Commissioner, could I have?
Yeah. See, there we go. See, I said this is my fault. Go ahead.
I apologize. I think that sensationalism is one of those things that we're used to seeing over and over and over again, and I think that really comes from lack of background, hard work that it takes to come to a budget at a time that Mr. Colson just pointed out, all of the extenuating factors that actually drive that individual to make a budget that we can all go along with. So I would have to say I applaud him at such short notice that was asked of him to get that budget put together in that manner, in that amount of time. That's not easy. we're not talking about a kitchen table of budget. We're talking about a county budget, and I think that given the opportunity to make that better, if he could, he should be given ample time to do that, coming from us, and not at the last minute ask for something that we feel that would be constructive for the.
Okay. I think a couple of county commissioners. This is your first time going through it, and so the first time, so it's always new, and sometimes things come up. But when we look at this thing, one thing our former county commissioner Chad said, something about what
He happens to be in the audience today.
What happens to be the less. Remember the T-shirt you gave us, Chad? That's something you lived it. So that's what we're doing right now. Anyway, I've had everybody have a chance to talk now. Mark, did you have anything else? Okay. Consent agenda.
Move that we adopt the consent agenda.
As presented. Second.
As presented.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any comments? Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 All right. Formal board action. Consider a motion to adopt a policy establishing a process for future county ride-away vacation request.
So, Commissioners, this is the much talked about right-of-way policy that staff put together for consideration. I would like to just start with a couple things of overview. I believe I've seen some comments, and I've heard Joe's comments today. I mean, what he is asking for is a different process for right-of-ways that he believes were acquired unfairly. I would like to note that no matter how the right-of-way is acquired, the general process where you have to notice up the landowners, publish it in the paper, and have a public hearing, that piece will not change. They do have to come in front of the commission no matter how they were acquired. The process in place is to streamline it, to make it clear when these requests come in that they're not being brought in front of the commission without a review of staff to ensure that we're not, perhaps vacating right away that the county needs, that the taxpayers will have to reacquire and pay for in the future, or that the action might actually have negative impacts on utilities or might frankly just be wrong and cause frontage that other properties need to be vacated. We have I think you'll see later this year, there's something coming before us where an entire roadway was vacated in 1952 and caused an access issue, and that individual will be here asking for the county to reacquire the right-of-way and reopen the road to have access to their land. So even if we're not comfortable adopting this today, I do think that and I recommend that the county have a policy in place where we review these requests and make sure we're doing our due diligence when we're vacating right away.
Got a question, Mike?
I have a motion.
Oh, you have a motion. Anybody have a question before? I thought Mike got it. Nancy, you got something on this?
Can we just discuss the changes he was requesting? I mean,
I'm sorry.
can we just discuss the changes that Mr. Herring was requesting?
Sure, we can talk about anything. So what are they? I mean, I heard what he was saying on stuff, and I marked up the items, but go ahead.
It looks like the first one that I can tell from the letter that he submitted was item 3E, certificate of survey, reviewed and approved by the county surveyor for recording prior to application. The certificate of survey should be submitted for review by the county surveyor. Most other surveys that have a formal application are submitted, then reviewed and revised for recording upon approval of the action.
I think I'm glad that you brought that up, Commissioner. The policy is not intended that the survey be actually recorded until the commission, I don't think it could be recorded until the commission actually approves the vacation. It's intended that the survey be ready for recording after it's approved. So, I mean, we could revise that to make it very clear.
Is that okay with you guys?
What would you add to it to make it very clear?
I could say reviewed and approved by the county surveyor for recording after adoption. by the county commission to make that clear.
I'm fine with that.
After adoption
Yeah.
by.
Did you feel that we could approve any different verbiage as far as the pre-app meeting concerns?
I don't have any particular suggestions on that. The pre-app meeting was to just generally meet, discuss the right-of-way being vacated, and discuss any issues that may come up on it. I don't really know what else to say other
What is
than...
the issue with that?
What is that?
What's the issue? I don't
He said, would like to see some exemptions from this policy stated within the document. All right-of-way vacations are not the same. The exemptions could be identified during the pre-app meeting. Maybe that is the reason for the pre-app, so they can apply a different process. If so, then stating that could be helpful in the policy.
I think my position is the process where we have to come in front of the commission and have the public hearing and notify everybody is the same no matter how the right-of-way was acquired. I think the crux of it is, and I don't want to put words in Mr. Herring's mouth, but it seemed he mentioned quid pro quo or right-of-way acquired in a manner that he believes to be unfair, that he would like to see a different process. I don't know if the process is not paying an application fee, not getting the, survey.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with that part of it. I think we need to have that in place. Go ahead, Vanessa.
So can we approve it with that one change then?
With the change on the survey? Yes.
After adoption by the county
Yeah,
commission.
I'm okay with that, commissioners.
So I would like to move that we adopt the policy with the amended language in subsection E under 3.
Second. Motion is second. Any more discussion? Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
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 Aye. Very good. Thank you for bringing that up, Vanessa. Presentations and discussions, LCDC and LCPA quarterly report. Morning, Lisa.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for having me. Do I need to sit here? That'd be better.
Well, wherever you're comfortable, come on down.
That's so I can. Yes.
Lisa, when are you going to use this slide? I'll dim the lights. You want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, you
now?
can go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. You guys, you hear me?
I'm going to put a little closer to you.
Test, test. Is it on?
We should just hang it around everybody's neck. It'd be a lot easier.
Okay. All right. I'm Lisa Hack. I'm the Executive Director for Leavenworth County Development Corporation. I appreciate you all having me here today. Let's see if that. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
I won't go into detail on this. You guys pretty much know the history of this is a Leavenworth County Port Authority and a Leavenworth County Development Corporation third quarter update. And then I won't go into the detail. This is the history. Basically, you all know that the Port Authority is a nonprofit organization who has 7 board members appointed by 2 from the county, 2 from the city of Leavenworth, and 1 from each of the cities of Basehor, Lansing, and Tonganoxie. And they do not have staff, so they hire LCDC to conduct staff work and to do their marketing for them, for the county. And then you've got Leavenworth County Development Corporation, LCDC for short, and this is a public-private organization with 18 to 27 board members and an executive committee of 5 and a staff of normally 3. We have 2 right now. Both of these organizations have open meetings, so you are always welcome to come to these, and we have that posted in our calendar of events on our website, lvcountyed.org. And I guess I will just go on and move to the next slide. I think something important to talk about is the importance, why we focus on what we focus on. These 2 organizations are really focused on the industrial commercial industry. We feel that it causes an extreme positive impact on the county. You can see in the middle, and I say industrial and commercial, but I also mean primary. Primary industries are typically companies that are making a product and then selling it outside the community, therefore bringing new dollars into our community. And the impact has a ripple effect. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm following my notes. So first of all, you're going to see that these primary industrial businesses are hiring lots of people. These people all need places to live. They need places to buy things, whether it's gas, groceries, and they need to be able to purchase services. So they are impacting positively the population and increasing the demand for these kinds of businesses, for retail, for service businesses, that kind of thing. They are causing more jobs, obviously. I should move on to, let's see, let me look at my slide here. They are also paying a lot more in property taxes. The property taxes that these commercial businesses are paying, they're paying on 25% of their assessed value. And then, which is compared to residential, which is paying on 11.5% of their assessed value. And then also you have to take into account that as much as we need housing, they do come at a cost. We've got a cost with infrastructure, cost of services for police and for fire and for schools, whereas the industrial commercial businesses have less cost in those areas. So we're not saying one's more important. We're just saying there is a significant impact that comes from these industrial and commercial businesses. So do other Kansas communities have economic development organizations like us? They absolutely do. Many of us belong to this professional organization, the Kansas Economic Development Alliance, or we call KEDA, K-E-D-A, however you want to say it. It's a statewide nonprofit organization focused on economic growth and development in Kansas. It aims to expand Kansas's economy through legislative advocacy and providing educational opportunities for all the economic development professionals in the state of Kansas. They have more than 150 members that represent 100 communities in Kansas. So many communities in Kansas are operating with economic development organizations. KEDA conducted a compensation study in 2024 where it found 48% of the economic development organizations in Kansas are structured just like LCDC as a public-private organization. And 35% of Kansas EDOs are county-led. As far as funding, 74% of the EDOs in Kansas receive more than 50% of their funding from the public sector, which is very similar to us. Over 50% of our funding has typically come from the public sector. Funding changes for Kansas EDOs. 55% of Kansas EDOs funding is growing. 35% of them are unchanging, and only 10% of them are declining. The LCDC model is a proven model, and the Port Authority, proven model that many other communities use to strategically attract and retain businesses in the communities. And now I'd like to go through our business parks that we are focused on. There are 4 main business parks in the county that we are marketing. The first one is the Gary Carlson Business Park. This is an 80-acre park in Leavenworth, in the city of Leavenworth, on 13th and Eisenhower Road. It was developed by the Port Authority in 1989 is when it became ready. And these industrial commercial business parks take a long time to develop. In fact, this park still has 3 lots available, a 5, a 7, and a 9-acre lot. But it does have 9 companies that call it home. As you can see up there, I've got that listed. Fastenal, the VA Consolidated Mail Outpatient Pharmacy, CII Foods, which used to be Cereal Ingredients, Roverwood Ranch, Garrison Properties, Maps Incorporated, One Gas, 87 Capital, and Mather offices, which if you know where the LCDC and Port Authority offices are, that's that little strip mall there. It has several businesses there. Their property taxes generated for 2025 is over $466,000. That's for 1 year. The state, you can see where all the parts, the different portions are, being that the county receives over $140,000. I got these numbers from the GIS on the Leavenworth County website in May of 2025. And so there's over 570 jobs. Again, you have to remember these people a lot of them live in our community. They are buying products. They are purchasing services in our community. And then we did look at the average cost of a home in Leavenworth County, which is around $300,000. And it would take, to generate this much property taxes in 1 year, it would take at least 105 average priced homes. And that is not taking into account the extra costs that these homes are creating with those costs for services like police, fire, all of that. So it might even take more. The Urban Hess Business Center, this is a small, the other one was the Gary Carlson Business Park is an 80-acre park. The Urban Hess Business Center, which is located in Tonganoxie, is a smaller park of about 50 acres. And it was established in 2000. Again, this was because of the efforts from the Leavenworth County Port Authority. And it does have a few lots that are still available. There's 3, and they range between 1 and 4 acres. This one now has home to, 7 businesses. HMC Performance Coatings, Midstar Lab, IST, which has 3 buildings, County Road Brewing, that's recent, Wilson Glass, DL Granite and Design, and Smith Veterinarian Clinic. This park has been perfect for those companies who've been operating out of their home for a while, and they're ready to make that next step and build their own facility. That's kind of the story for a lot of these businesses. Yep. And so they are, of course, over 100 jobs in that park. They have generated property taxes for 2025 of over $250,000, of which $31,492 is going straight to the county. One of the projects, one of the recent successes is Project Transport. I'm going to go back because I have that right here. This is the Port Authority sold 2 properties in the Urban Hess Business Center to Croucher and Associates, this was at the end of 2024, so pretty recently. This company is going to build a 25,000 square foot facility. That's a requirement in the contract of sale within 2 years. They're going to build that building to lease to a company called Wind Electrical Construction Supply, or WEX. So then they serve clients like Kiewit, Burns & Mac, Black & Veatch. They sell cable, large cable for the solar industry. And this project will create 11 jobs over 10 years. The only incentive that was provided, they were given a 50% discount on the land. A cost-benefit analysis was done by Wichita State University, which found that even if the land were given away for free, the return to the county would still exceed $229,000 per dollar invested. This project is a $2 million project. And let's see, over here. I think that's it for Urban Hess. The Tonganoxie Business Park. I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Hold on just one second. Okay. So, of course, this is located in the city of Tonganoxie. Now, this one is owned by the city. The properties that were available and that are still available. This started decades ago, the development of this project, when the city approached property owners decades ago, as I said, and figured out a way to buy that land. Then it took decades to get the infrastructure in, to get the roads in. It was finally ready in about 2018, The first company that was to locate is Unilock. They make architectural pavers, and they sell them to other businesses. Then, of course, came Hill's Pet Nutrition. This announced its intention to build in 2021, and they started production in the fall of 2022. This started out as just a $250 million project, which quickly grew to double that, $450 million project. That's a lot. Then, let's see. So they were given a tax abatement, a 10-year tax abatement, but were also negotiated. There's a certain amount that they cannot abate, which is the portion that goes to the school. And then there's also a pilot that they were negotiated to pay, which will equal to $1.9 million over that 10-year tax abatement period. And then, oh, by the way, we're already 2 years into that tax abatement, so they've only got 8 years left, at which point their property taxes will be $3 million or more. So that's a lot of money for services for the community. Soon after that, well, actually pretty close to the time that Hills came, we started getting inquiries from KCADC because they were working on a project called, I've lost that one. It was DSM Firmenich. I'm trying to remember the name of that project. It came, and it is just about finished with its $60 million facility. They will be in production, should be, by fall of this year. And they're another animal health company. They came because they did hear that Hills was coming, and then they facilitated through KCADC, and then KCADC contacted us, and we helped facilitate that project as well. The only sites that are left in that park are a 12-acre and a 2-acre lot, and another animal health company has expressed interest in the 12-acre lot. I just want to reiterate how much time some of these projects take. From the time that DSM's project first came to our desk at LCDC to the time that they announced was 4 years. So sometimes it just takes a while. In this particular case, they had a leadership change, and so they had to kind of start the project all over. You just never know. Some of these things just take a long time. I think we're ready to move on. It's 135 jobs and 3 businesses. The Leavenworth Business and Technology Park. It's an 81-acre park in the city of Leavenworth at 14th and Eisenhower. It became available in 2018, and we haven't had the success that in a short enough time as we had hoped, but we are confident the right project will land there. In 2024, we submitted for 13 projects, and then 4 of them in 2025. I've got those all listed there. I will say that of all of those projects, we still have 4 that are active. And one is Ironman. Ironman is a manufacturer in the oil and gas industry with a preference for existing building, but accepted submittals for 20-acre sites. So we submitted that. Apollo, it's a manufacturer in the energy technology industry looking for an existing building of about 50 or more acres on a greenfield site where they want to build a 550,000 to 750,000 square foot production facility. And when I say greenfield site, a lot of times these companies are looking for greenfield sites that have all the power in there, all the water, sewer, road, the land has been graded. They're not looking, generally, sometimes they'll want something like that, but most of the time they do not want raw land. They want it ready, shovel ready. Nebula is a life sciences manufacturer looking for 50 to 100 acres. And then finally, Gold Rush. This came to us first in 2024, and then it came kind of revised a little bit and came back to us in 2025, and we submitted both times. It's a manufacturer of components used in the U.S. energy supply chain, looking for 40 acres on a greenfield site. The revision became a strong desire for an existing building, unfortunately, but we still submitted for it. There is no database anywhere that tells us what happens to these projects. The only time we learn is if we get some direct information from the project lead, which they don't always know unless it happens nearby and we hear about it. So a lot of times we just don't know. We do have a process where I'll go back and I'll ask some of these project leads, hey, whatever happened to this? And they'll give me as much information as they can, but a lot of times we don't hear back. They don't hear back from these companies. Sometimes they just don't happen. Challenges. Unfortunately, the Leavenworth Business and Technology Park does have challenges, obviously. The number one challenge is the lack of power. When this park was built, 7 megawatts was a fantastic amount of power. And I don't know if you've heard some of the megawatts that some of these projects need now, especially with data centers. 50 megawatts is probably minimum, and we're talking hundreds of megawatts. So now this park, not only does it not have 7 megawatts anymore because we've utilized some of the power in that substation, it now is down to 3.2. So that's a huge issue. We work closely with Evergy. We have a very close relationship. That's the energy provider, the electric provider. And we communicate this all the time. They are not able to build speculatively. That is the law. That's the law across the nation, unfortunately. They have to have a commitment already before they can build more power. And then on top of that, there's a 2 to 4 year wait list before they can get all of that equipment in, because a lot of it comes from overseas, and there's a process where there's only so many slots, and you have to be in that slot. It's a long process. So you have to understand when companies are looking for a place, they want to try to have power already there, and if there's no power, a plan in place for more. And so that's one of our biggest challenges. Our other challenge are the houses on the west side. When a company comes to visit these sites, they see those houses. They know, we tell them this property is already zoned for light industrial, and it was built first. So these houses should know that there's going to be something built there that's going to be like an industrial type business. However, that company still knows that those people might raise a fuss, and they can't afford that for their company's reputation, that kind of thing. So that is a challenge. For one project, one of our what the city did, we were closely looked at for this project, and that was a concern. So they went to their engineer in the city, and they devised a plan for a berm that raised some land and then kind of put some trees on top to kind of separate. It didn't work for that project, but hopefully that will be something that we can offer, and they would be willing to cost share on that. And then finally, the challenge is the distance to I-70. 14 miles is a long distance to I-70 for truckers. Truckers, every time they have to stop at a stoplight, that's time and that's money for them. So unfortunately, that is an issue. But I do believe what we're doing, the challenges are going to make it take longer. It's going to take just the right company. I have made sure that all of our partners are very aware. I talk about the project, the property constantly to anytime I'm around site consultants, realtors, developers. We've brought in KCADC, these are the experts in the community, and Department of Commerce, and said, hey, what are we missing? What are we not doing well enough? And what we're getting back is that we are partnering with the right organizations, we are attending the right events, we are making sure that we talk about the park to the right people. So we're doing all the right things. I think what we're going to have to look at doing is some more target marketing approaches, and we're working with the city on that very soon. So, but what I'm hearing from...
Excuse me, Lisa?
Yes,
Excuse me. You got a great presentation here. The question I have is, you mentioned that at 14 miles from that development to I-70, has there been any other proposed studies that would give us a better route than 14 miles? Because that to me is millions and millions of dollars in order to make that happen.
Well, I think what the Port Authority is working on, they've been spearheading with the county the regional transportation plan. They helped spearhead that study, and that study took all the different projects or suggested road projects in the county and kind of prioritize them. And I think that's going to be key. As a result of that, K5's realignment, which is now being scheduled, I think it's like 2030, but still it's on the schedule of getting some funding from, and that's what the intention of this regional transportation plan was to do, is to come together, prioritize these projects, and be a unified community, which gives us a better opportunity for funding.
Okay, how do we involve the communities in order to keep that rhetoric to a minimum, as to where they aren't thinking that they're going to have a lot of traffic that they really don't want, and not understanding what work has gone into this project? That I can recall a project that we had years ago, and miscommunication between, no communication between the company and the residents was given in order for that project to come forth, which would have really made things a lot easier. So I know that you guys are anticipating a media campaign that would help. I'd just like to be sure that we're going to pursue that, whereas the residents of Leavenworth County are involved in this by having miniature meetings of the city leaders, councilmen, in order to make that work. Because I hate to see us lose a project because of misinformation, and I'm sure you know the project that I'm speaking of years ago.
Okay.
We had a chicken company that came in.
Yes, I know that one.
Talking Tyson. Okay. You said that, I didn't. And because of miscommunication between the company, the governor's office, okay, which I'm still sick about it, because there could have been better communication given to us, whereas we as the state representatives at that time were only told 2 days before the event announcement. And I would like to curtail that, to make sure that we are on top of it before anything is done, and let those individuals know that this is what's coming. So I
want to make sure to respond to your question. Do I understand
communication with cities?
Absolutely.
In order to make this work, we need those miniature meetings.
Yes.
We need them. They're I can emphasize more importance that we do that. I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I guess
I know it's a hard question to answer, and I'm not looking for a direct answer. I just want to make sure that we are aware of what's going on and make them aware of what could be happening. Not to the point of giving out information that they really don't need to have at that particular time, but giving the leaders of those communities some answers to
stay in the loop.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So I think the best thing, number one, is the regional transportation study. I will say a quick, so you understand my process with confidentiality. When I get these requests for information, the initial conversations are the ones that we're helping to facilitate. We're trying to bring the right people to the table that can help these companies kind of think through, what they need to think about when they're getting ready to present publicly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're bringing the right people to the table. Now, when it comes time for those decisions to get made, those get made at the public, the governing body. We don't make those decisions. We don't discuss incentives. We don't get to make those decisions at all. That is all at the governing body, and that's when so know that. Does that
I just hope that the state of Kansas, okay, and its leadership joins us in letting citizens know exactly, not exactly, but what's going on, and to mitigate those problems, because that was a nightmare.
It was.
Absolute nightmare, and it could have been done with proper communication. I'll say from the governor's office all the way to city leadership.
And one thing I would say that the difference with that was it came from the Department of Agriculture, which is a different scenario. We typically get, since I've been here, that was the only one that I've ever seen come from the Department of Ag. Department of Commerce is is the typical route, and I think that's maybe a process that they're more used to these kind of projects.
Yes.
I think that's an important part of that. So.
I think that what happened, now maybe you're talking out of school here, I think what happened is that the governor at that time, whom I have a lot of respect for, okay, was once the agricultural leadership.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and that propelled into other conversations that I don't think he was privy to give information out. I just hope that we can lessen that pressure on our citizens and us as a commission here. So I'm just throwing those stuff out because I lived through it and it wasn't pretty,
right,
at all.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yep, I agree with you, Willie.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. If you have other
All right.
questions, please,
Okay.
interrupt
All
me,
right.
please. I want to talk about, the reasons, maybe why some of these projects were not winning. We, in 2024 and 2025, we received 91 project leads, and we did not submit for 47 of those projects. So if you can see the list up here, 22 of those were because we didn't have an existing building. And the average building requested from those 22 were about 200,000 square feet. So that's, unfortunately, we just don't have anything ready for them. 10 of the projects, of which we did not submit, needed rail. And, of course, we don't have that rail access right now. I will say I think that number isn't quite large enough because many of our partners already know that we don't have rail. So I don't think we're always getting those projects because they're like, they don't have it. So so I imagine that number is higher. And then 10 of those projects that we did, for which we did not submit, were just not large enough sites. The sites of the ones that we didn't submit for ranged between 150 acres and 1,000 acres. So we just don't have, and then again, we're talking greenfield sites, not raw land. We're talking sites that have everything in it already and are ready for the shovel. And then for 3, we didn't have enough power. You can read the rest of them. It's like one of them was that we were not in Southwest Kansas. I'm not sure why I even got that RFI, but yeah. One of them, we didn't have a seaport, which again, I'm not sure why we got that one. And then one was needed an existing building near an existing sports arena. So that wasn't something we had. No site with an aviation runway. No site within 20 miles of a specific address. This was a data center. It needed to be 20 miles from the specific address in Kansas City, so we didn't have that. And then no site near an abandoned railroad track that fit some other, I should have included, there was some more, it needed
got a lot of those.
A Class A office space next door, which we don't have any Class A. Class A is very high-end office space. And then no Class A office space was the final one. So, I didn't mean to push that, but it's okay. I did want to mention our business retention expansion program. That was the program that Diana was responsible for, and we're still continuing some of those services. According to the International Economic Development Council, over 50% of a community's capital investment comes from those existing companies that are growing and expanding. So it's absolutely crucial that we're working with those companies to help them overcome barriers to growth. And a recent success is Zephyr Products. They are completing an expansion that includes 2 building purchases, a merger with LPF High Performance Coatings, and a relocation of operations from Missouri. So that's a $10 million investment and 45 new jobs for this county, for Leavenworth, in the city of Leavenworth. Workforce remains a top concern for local businesses. In response, LCDC started 2 annual career fairs. So we're doing those that we're rotating through the county. And then Diana had spearheaded the Career and Technical Education Symposium. This is aimed at building a county-wide career and tech pipeline, education pipeline. This initiative brings K through 12 community colleges and universities to provide students with career exposure, certifications, and ideally hands-on experience. It also helps reduce redundancy, maximize the use of space and funding, and prepare the skilled workforce for businesses that our businesses need. And so fortunately, she planned that so well that she has been able to hand that off to very capable hands. And that program will continue. I think that's going to be a extremely positive thing for our county and our existing businesses as well as incoming businesses. When an incoming business hears that we've got a program that is helping these students to become prepared for the jobs that they have, that's huge.
And when is that, and what's the date, and who's handling it now?
You're going to ask me that. I'll have to get some. I just know it's fall. I think it is, yes, September 9th. So
September 9th?
Yes. Well, let me double check that. are you guys?
The schools are taking over. That program is set up for the schools to have their meeting.
Right.
So for this meeting, the schools are actually going to run it.
And who is the contact person
School
is?
districts within the can.
Is there a contact person?
At each school, the superintendents are the ones that are leading it, and they are dividing those duties out to people within each school district. So basically what's happening is we were the conduit to bring it together, and this presentations were going to be the schools anyway, so we just handed it right back to the schools to allow them to
Is it going to be in Baser?
No.
Or where's it going to be?
Lansing High School.
Lansing High School. And on the 9th of September.
No, we don't know that for sure date.
She's
going to get back to you with that date. We'll get back to you and email you that date directly.
Okay, and can you also email me a specific person as a contact?
Well, Marty Caboza is the superintendent who it was passed to.
Okay.
So that's who I would talk. I don't know for sure who he's passed it off to, but that's who I would talk to.
Okay. I made a note to make sure and get that.
Well, it'll run well because it's in Lansing, so let's go ahead with that.
Well, sometimes things are.
Michael, you're out of order.
I'm on the home stretch, I promise. Leavenworth's. I just want to talk about Leavenworth's current property ratio. As you guys have heard, and we did get this. I can tell you where I got this information. It is 10%, 90%, meaning 10% of the property taxes in Leavenworth County are being paid by industrial commercial businesses, and 90% are being paid by homeowners. That's a lot for homeowners to take. A healthy...
It is. It's terrible.
Okay. Healthy property ratio is more like 30% for industrial commercial to take on and 70% for the residential. We have some work to do, and we are the organizations that are working on that to help spread that tax base, to help reduce that burden from those homeowners.
How are you facilitating that? How are you making it happen?
Through marketing, we are facilitating the creation and retention of jobs and capital investment through business attraction and business retention and expansion, and especially focused on those organizations or those companies who are paying lots of property taxes, helping to spread that tax base.
So I have a question on that. Once the Hills Pet Nutrition in Tonganoxie comes online in 8 years, do you have a projection on the amount of property taxes that will produce for the county?
About three.
The mill will be, Mike?
Assuming the mill's the same.
Yeah, assuming the mill is the same. Right now, if you to figure at what we think that's going to be worth, it's going to be about $3 million every year.
So, and following up on that, I just had a question on when they were negotiating that agreement, when George and them were negotiating, did they include the negotiation on the PILT within the negotiation, or was that an afterthought after the project was in place that they came back and requested the payment in lieu of taxes?
I don't know that because we don't negotiate the incentives. So I
Okay.
wasn't involved in that.
I just thought maybe you might know.
No, I don't.
Thanks.
I would just say without the Port Authority and LCDC, we as a county, if we don't have these organizations, are going to succumb to the other surrounding communities who utilize EDOs to do this type of long-range economic development. So I would just encourage you to remember that. I would encourage you to know that these organizations have delivered decades of economic development with real, measurable return on investment year after year that will benefit this county for generations to come.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions for her or anybody else as part of the group? I always like to see this information, Lisa. It's well done.
Go ahead. We have some questions.
Okay, well, it's well done. Some of the information you put in this time, I appreciate you putting in there because I think that needs to be shared with everybody. Okay, Commissioner Culberson, you have something?
Just a couple things. So, just to recap, Lisa, how many lots did you say, like in the Gary Carlson, are left?
Gary Carlson has 3 lots.
3 lots left out of how many? 10, 12?
3 lots that are there's a 5-acre, a 7-acre, and a 9-acre lot.
How many total lots?
3.
No, how many total lots are there in Gary
Total.
Carlson?
Oh, gosh.
I think there's 13.
You're probably right. I have to think through
Maybe
that.
15. 13 or 15, so
Yes.
3 out of 13.
Yes.
Urban Hess, how many vacant lots are still?
Vacant lots are 3 as well.
3. And you know how many total there is in Urban Hess?
I'd have to
It's
count.
got about 9, I think.
That sounds about right because it's 50 acres about, whereas the other one's 80.
Okay. And then Tony, the one south of town, how many
Yes.
lots are left?
There are 2 lots left, a 2-acre and a 12-acre. And so Hills,
really tiny lots.
DSM, yeah, tiny. DSM and Unilock and 2 more, 5 lots total.
So what's the, you know what the total acreage is?
I think that one was 136.
So,
I'm pretty
so
sure.
about 100 acres is already taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one of the big issues is when people don't see, like the Leavenworth Business Tech Park is still empty. I think when people don't see results very fast, they think you aren't doing anything. So, and what I'm leading up to is in the regional transportation study, it picked about 6 highways to improve. One of those was the Eastern Gateway, 152 Bridge. It's the only one that would make the business park 6 or 7 minutes from the airport. None of the other highways that they chose in that regional transportation study would do that. So do you think that would probably help sell the lots in the business tech park if the Eastern Gateway was here?
I do. I mean,
6 minutes from KCI, right?
Right.
And the Eastern Gateway is the only one that would do that. So do you think that LCDC and the Port Authority might think about putting together a committee to work on specifically the Eastern Gateway project? Because out of the regional transportation study,
I think the Port Authority already has taken that task on. Doesn't the Port Authority have a transportation committee? So, yeah. Yeah. We already have an infrastructure committee that, through the Port Authority, that actually looks at all those transportation type things. So that would already be in place if that's something that need to be brought up.
Okay. That's all I had, Mike.
One thing on that, I think, you know, we even had citizens in the last few weeks talk about we need a project that can change the ratio that we're seeing here, something like that, and beat the drum. You know, Commissioner Culberson and I and a few other people, especially Jeff, have been over in Missouri on this Gateway project. These are the kind of things that can change.
Game changer.
Yeah, it really is. It's like Carol Marinovich, the CEO, when they went to down to Wyandotte County. They said this raceway wouldn't come there. Well, look what happened. So we need more power and more people involved, and that's a thing that y'all could help like that to work on. Because Jeff and I have gone across quite a few places, and Jeff's gone a lot more than me, and everybody's receptive. We just don't have that push to get this thing across the finish line. And I know there's a lot of funding that's required in this, but Yeah, I know Leavenworth's getting ready to look at something with Starbond and stuff like that, but this is something that would really be a game changer. If you're going to do it, you need to be looking at it now, because as time goes by, that land and where it sits and everything won't be available. But that's one, to me, that's a no-brainer. A lot of money, but sometimes you got to step up to the plate. So I think Jeff's point about working with y'all, and I know we got the transportation thing that I really appreciate Greg and all y'all doing, but I think we need to get a little bit more with just a group to help push that a little harder down there, keep it in front of. We've spoken to legislators, but we just going to need some help to get this pushed across the finish line. Just my 2 cents. Mike, do you have anything?
I do, but do you want to go on and come back to me?
Well, if you want to. Willie, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Vanessa, do you have some on this? We're back to you.
Okay, that was fast. I do have a couple other questions. The status of the new industrial park committee, and we had a presentation from the Union Pacific on the railhead.
Yes.
And where does that all stand? Where are we at?
That has been on hold. We have been kind of really having some issues funding-wise, and that's taken precedence. A lot of our time is spent focused on how are we going to move forward, and the people that have been involved in that are stretched thin. So unfortunately, that's on hold.
A funding issue with that committee moving forward?
For LCDC and the Port Authority. The funding issue with the LCDC and the Port Authority has taken precedence. Unfortunately, we just don't have the amount of volunteers to help with that. We were able to talk to the experts at Union Railway, Evergy, Kansas Department of Commerce, KCADC, and brought all those experts in to kind of share with us what do we need to know before we consider where a business park might be, of course, and then we were able to develop an evaluation process, and it just kind of has stalled there.
Amen. And could you elaborate a little bit more on why is funding affecting that committee?
Because we are looking at
Staff.
We don't have enough staff. We have reduced our staff. We only have 2, and we don't have enough people to put towards that. We're working on business attraction, responding to RFIs, putting together presentations, just marketing, everything. Am I missing anything else? We are just stretched beyond our capacity.
That's too bad, because I know the Port Authority has, if you were stretched on that particular item, seems to me to be very important. And if you had an issue with funding on that, I would have thought that you might have approached the Port Authority, because they do have a reserve, that they do have some money. And by the way, all of that money was provided by the county. So it's that reserve is sitting there, and I would think there is some money available, and I would think that this industrial park is something we need to really push.
We were tasked about a year ago of finding alternate funding sources, and that's been what our focus has been as a Port Authority is how do we keep the machine moving, because there's some uncertainty of funding from the county, from base, or from everybody, and so we're just trying to keep things afloat.
But you have a pot of money of $750,000 here. I would think that we wouldn't stall out our industrial park committee based on
Well,
that.
I think the industrial park committee is something that's going to take 20 years to get something.
Well, I'm just stressed that's come
It
about.
hasn't been put in reverse. We still have all the information, so we can gather back if we had some consistent funding sources.
Okay, I'll move on from that, but just something to think about. This is for Mr. Habian. Can you tell me the LCDC's position on RHID financing, and do you draw a distinction between commercial tax abatement and residential property tax abatement, which seems to be a major issue when we talk about RHIDs versus other forms of abatement. The county has an abatement policy, but what's the LCDC's position on abatements as far as residential?
Well, first of all, I can speak as Brian Habian, or I can speak as president of LCDC.
Well, I want to know
whichever one you
I want to know what
address.
LCDC thinks.
All right, LCDC, we have not specifically made a opinion or a statement of our policy on our HID because simply LCDC and the Port Authority have never been involved in retail development and or housing developments. We do talk about it. We did have a session within one of our board meetings so we could educate our board members as well as the public about our HIDs. We've always taken the position of any development in the right spot with the right type of development, we feel has always been positive.
Do you draw a distinction between the residential abatement of property taxes versus commercial abatement?
We don't do residential, so we don't have an opinion on either way as LCDC.
Okay. That obviously this is a big issue now because of these state statutes that we're dealing with that have been expanded to include larger areas from.
I don't understand the question.
Well, I'm just saying this is what we're dealing with now because the rural housing incentives now been changed to a much broader approach with the reinvestment housing incentive districts, which used to be for mainly rural areas like western Kansas that were blighted, and now they've expanded it where it can include a lot more properties. So that's sort of what we're looking at, these type of abatements. Another question I had, when you're looking at, and this might be for Lisa, when you're looking at bringing in businesses, are you looking at the wage structures like of those businesses, like providing a living wage for people when they come, that we're looking for a high wage structure, or is wage structure not so important?
We are not always provided that information. Sometimes we are, but that is, again, not our decision. That is up to the community in which it would go. I think that's important to a community, but that's for them to decide.
So each community, if they have a business that's interested, they'll address that with the business.
Correct.
You mentioned about the electricity situation and the power situation and how that's going to impact us as far as Kansas and as far as you being able to bring industries in. How are you, is the economic development corporations and economic development people in the state and the Commerce Department and government entities, how are we addressing that? Is that being talked about? Like, it sounds like we need some new power plants.
Yes, absolutely, and today. But no, the conversations are always happening. The conversations are happening just between me and our contact at Evergy, the one that I deal with directly regarding these RFIs. I communicate that to her. Whenever I go to events in Kansas City, that is a conversation in almost every discussion, every networking event, everything. When I go to conferences nationally, there is always at least 1 to 2, maybe even 3 sessions where that is the biggest. That's the discussion. So it is happening all over the United States. It's an issue. Everybody's experiencing that, and everybody's trying to put their heads together to just figure this out.
And by the way, when you do bring a power plant into your county or community, that ratio shifts rather dramatically. We can look at some of the counties in Kansas where they have a power plant and see how much commercial property tax they pay. Yeah. So I mean, bring us one to Leavenworth County. That'd be great.
I think that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
And a long way.
So the other question I have is, how are you guys? And I think Commissioner Dove addressed this sort of, and how can we help you? As far as this 90-10 ratio and 70-30 ratio, how can we get more industrial into Leavenworth County, and what thought process we got some really smart people out there. What's the thinking? Chad?
Fund us. I'm just saying, don't reduce our funds. You need to increase our funds. We have a proven processes. We are doing everything that we should be doing. If you ask any of the experts, you will find we are highly regarded as an economic development organization, both organizations. We need to be funded.
Bottom line is, we need to let the quiet one, Chad, have a say on this.
Yeah, I'll let Chad come up to the mic. Yeah.
Oh, there, okay.
And by the way, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for the time. When I quickly resorted to funding, I think as you look at these timelines and questioning, reserve funds that may be available, I think you were given Mr. Lawfrey a lot of credit for the amount of planning that goes into year to year and not committing funds that, only so far out, right? So we as an organization may only have a 2 or 3 year runway based on where we stand today and not knowing anything about next year or 3 years from now, or looking at these parks that take 6-7 years for maybe that first flag to get stuck. So there's been a massive shift and reallocation of time and resources to figure out how do we have a 10-year runway so we can focus on more of the right things. Because I think a lot of us are all arguing the same points. I think connectivity is a major issue. I think it was this commission many decades ago that probably missed out on 435, which was also a dagger. So we can come up with 3 or 4 examples of missteps and who made the worst decision. And right now I think we're saying, look, we know we're far worse off without these organizations. And if we don't figure out a long-term path to success, we're all going to suffer. We started the conversation at the beginning with, again, taxation, right? I mean, I'm looking at those slides going, you guys take the most repercussions, understandably so, as where the check goes. But if you look, the city collections and the school collections are obviously far exceeding that of the counties.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm sitting out here looking at the statements that I've received, and I'm seeing 10% increases in certain cities on properties that I own. So regardless of the steps that you guys have made, I'm still feeling that pressure. So I'm sitting back here going, I'm obviously a proponent of incentives because Mr. Commissioner Stephen, you mentioned Western Kansas for an example. I think in a lot of markets you could give away housing and they're still going to decline in population because of opportunity and what they can provide.
Yep.
I think the cost per square foot of everything, residential or commercial, is through the roof. It was already going that way before COVID. It has been exacerbated by these last 5 years where things are 2x the cost that they were, and that just puts the burden on the rest of us. So funding is critical to our success and any economic development and any marketing. I mean, I can show you hundreds of organizations, and if you look at what their budget is spent towards marketing and acquisition of new business, it's a significant portion. And as a city and a county that is suffering from a tax base, I know it's difficult for us to be at those same percentages, but we're going to continue to have the same results. Definition of insanity. Do the same thing, expect different results.
Yeah. You can put that
Do
on
what,
t-shirt.
suck less, maybe. Ultimately, that's where the funding comment came from.
So I want to ask you a question about that. We had a committee, was about 3 years ago?
About 5, Mike. We started
5 years ago. Been doing this for a while. That we sat down and Mr. Russell was on it, and several people from LCDC, and we had a wide array of people. But one of the thought processes was that the Port Authority would be sort of the conduit to actually do things. They can own property, they can make contracts, they can actually hire people. But LCDC would be kind of the marketing arm of economic development. And then the county, rather than funding day-to-day operations of the Economic Development Corporation or the Port Authority, that we would be sort of the place to come for funding, say for an industrial park or a railhead or whatever project. So the county sort of funds the project while the economic development arms are the marketing and the actual working. Like some of these industrial parks, the Port Authority could actually be operating within the industrial park. So but somehow it's kind of broken down, and the communication. I feel like the communication is what's broken down. And we had Tom Cole for a while. He developed an incentive policy for the county, so we have an incentive, but it's for commercial incentive. We didn't see this RHID coming, but we have that. So we have kind of a foundation, but I feel like we don't communicate enough with. I don't feel like we all work together like a well-honed machine. So how do we get there?
But Chad, let me say one thing. I don't think we're going to get there until we find a way to fund them, or we find some way, a mechanism that's going to help them compete. My issue has never been with the LCDC or the Port Authority. My issue has been with the taxes that we don't get. How do we come up to keep them going? Last thing I want to see is Leavenworth County not have an economic arm or somebody to work out and try to make things happen. But we keep going back to the same thing, and I do share it with the county commissioners when there's something that's at the meeting I'm at. I think it keeps going back to the same question. If we don't find a way to fund these folks, and also has nothing to do with Lisa and Mary, outstanding employees, but there has to be some way we got to figure out that we can get money in their pocket without killing too much of the property tax, because we're getting killed on property tax. And as you will know, setting up here, damned if you know. So you try to do the best you can, and I don't want to see this to go away, but I do want to see somehow we come up, and I don't know how it's going to happen yet. I keep beating my head against the wall, how we fund this organization so they can continue going forward, or we relook at it and we talk about how it could run better, or if it could run better. But we're getting to the point now that if we don't fund it, those reserves you've got to 700-something-thousand, like you said, we're 2 or 3 years away from that before we won't have anything in place. But I want to make sure everyone understood. It's, to me, and I've heard on social media stuff like that, I don't have a problem with the staff. I've worked with them for a long time. But I think the real issue is, how are we going to get together and fund this before it does go away and we're just sitting there without one? And I can tell you, I was down Osawatomie for 9 months as their intern, as their acting city manager when they were on a nationwide search, and they have a countywide project, and the county helps fund it, but it's also part of it. But they do a lot of the same things. I'm not advocating that we go that way, but I'm saying that if you don't have something in the county that's promoting these things, then it hurts, because you look at the money that it has brought in. It takes 8 years. It took me 10 years to get Quick Trip in Lansing, but we stayed on them. These are long time projects that take a while to get. So I think they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're short staffed, but I do think there's going to, and I've said it at the meetings, the funding is going to have to be fixed somehow, and I just don't have the answer yet. My 2 cents.
Yeah, so I think the first question, again, my experience with these entities, both on that side and this one, is we've constantly had these debates around funding for the last several years.
Yep.
Generally speaking, I don't see collaboration going in the right direction when the main thing that keeps us going is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So I think that's problematic. I think, you brought up a couple of really great points. I mean, I think power is a huge issue. I think the county's better positioned than any one of our groups to help push that forward. I think the same thing on infrastructure, whether it's an Eastern Gateway or whether it's railway. Again, you guys have far more money, resources, size, connections. You're going to D.C., you're going to, state meetings. I mean, the resources that I think at your disposal is 10x what we have at ours.
One thing I'd like to just add on that. There is more communication on power and rail and things like that that's ever been. So at the county level, we're looking outside the box, as they always like to say, how can we help devise that and bring rail in, things like that, because we know that's one of the main problems. And if we could find something like that, I just speaking for myself, we're not afraid to sink money into it when we see something like that coming, because we know what the problems are, the issues are.
Yeah, I think this team with the county, I think there's been definitely some friction. We'd all like to see that go away. I think, we work really closely with the cities and all of those stakeholders, right? As you all know, the majority of development that's happening and going to happen is happening within, those cities.
Yep.
So working really closely on supporting their efforts. We talk about the Leavenworth Park, and I, for one, struggle as much as anybody with the logistics of the location. we're here to support the cities within the county. If you ask Leavenworth County where to build a park, where would you say? Or if you ask the city of Leavenworth where to build a park, well, knowing the logistics, you'd probably say as far south as you can go. If you guys know any further south of the city of Leavenworth than Eisenhower, you let me know what it is. So, that's problematic. They're not sitting like Tonganoxie on I-70. That's advantageous. They're not sitting on 2440 like Baser. That's advantageous. So it's going to have, some challenges, and I think we're going to have to be really creative in finding that right user, because I think, we're already taking a population that's not huge, and we've narrowed it and narrowed it and narrowed it to the point where now it's going to be, without some creative thinking and some massive investment, again, like connectivity being an issue. We're far too far away from all of those major intersections that make this part of the country so great. It's a real struggle for us.
Well, what you have to do is bite the bullet. I think the gateway that Jeff Culberson brought up years ago and things like that, somehow we're going to have to make that reality, because it's not going to happen with everybody going in a different direction.
Well, if you look at what's been successful, again, we can talk about the lack of success of the Leavenworth Park or all of the success of the Tonganoxie Park. This board here spearheaded those from a funding perspective, right? Yeah. With partnership in the cities. Yeah. Again, that math works. That math does math. Everything does take time. Yeah. We live in a society today that wants it yesterday or tomorrow, and that's foolish.
And that doesn't happen with this stuff. You're right, Chuck.
So,
okay. I think sometimes the rhetoric can be difficult, because when I pull the paper out and we made a decision that's important on an issue, and somebody from LCDC says in the paper that you're killing the county. No, we're not killing the county. We made a decision on a large residential tax abatement. That's what we made a decision on. It wasn't killing the county. And there's differences of opinion on that, obviously, on whether you should go large or whether they should be small and within a parameter. And we're still working our way through that. What's the objective way to make a decision? We certainly can't approve every single abatement that's proposed. And so how do you objectively decide that one person's going to get an abatement, but the next guy's not? So you got to have some kind of an objective way to make that decision so that it's somewhat fair.
Well, I don't know. I think we can argue objective versus subjective. Personally, I just text you directly, so I don't have to worry about it being in the paper.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks for the time, Chad.
Okay. Did anyone else have any questions on that? Okay, I'm ready to. Lisa, folks, thank you for taking your time out to come out here and talk to us. I do appreciate the comments. Okay, next one is discuss September proclamations. I don't see any problem with the ones you've got in front of you to be placed later. Does anybody have an issue with any of them?
Need a motion?
Do we need a motion of that? Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I move that we support those September proclamations.
Second. Any discussion? Stephen?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Okay, Vanessa, it's your turn.
Did you say 20 minutes? I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting to consult with our attorneys and discuss confidential matters related to contract negotiations and the legal interest of the county, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship as permitted under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and that board resume open meeting at 10:47 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioners Mike Smith, Jeff Culberson, Vanessa Reed, Willie Dove, Mike Stephen, County Administrator Mark Lawfrey, County Councilor Misty Brown, and Deputy County Councilor John Khalil.
Any second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Stephen? Aye.
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 All right.
20 seconds. Get in your
It's
chair.
on you to read that bottom part, Vanessa.
The board has returned to regular session at 10:47 a.m. No action was taken. No decision were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
Okay, very good.
Yes, good.
Now,
Right on time.
we need a motion from somebody.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On the EMS contract with Fort Leavenworth, I have a motion.
Please go ahead.
To direct staff to extend the contract with Fort Leavenworth for 30 days and then pay $1 million a year for the continuation of ambulance services as a prerequisite for continuing with the contract.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any more discussion? Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along, staff will handle that. What we have now is going around the thing. Mike, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
I do not. Willie? Vanessa, you have anything for us?
No.
What? Oh. Okay, that's in. Never mind. Jeff, you have anything?
Nope.
Take a motion.
Adjourn.
Second. I say, Commissioner Stephen? Aye. Willie? Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Okay. Good meeting. Thanks, you, everybody.